What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with my next NFL draft scouting report. So just did Jared Goff a little while ago today, and come back with Paxton Lynch. So Paxton Lynch, one of the more interesting prospects to look at in college football. It's hard to know what to make of him, but anyway, he is a 6'7", 245-pound junior quarterback out of Memphis. He's from Deltona, Florida. Not very highly recruited out of high school. I believe he had to miss his senior year, and he ended up being like a 2 or 3 star recruit, but nonetheless panned out pretty well. So, 2015 season, very good numbers. About 3,800 yards passing, I believe, around 3,775 to be exact. 28 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. So, get into some of his, bigger strengths. First one is length and athleticism. So obviously at 6'7", he's got above average size for a quarterback. He's got, I wouldn't say the genuine size you want, I mean above that. Athleticism wise, he is pretty fleet of foot. He's pretty mobile. He moves crisply. He's a little bit slower on the 40 time than Goff and Wentz. Wentz ran about a 4.75, I believe 4.77 to be exact, and Goff was about a 4.82, and Lynch is about at a 4.86, but he's considerably bigger than both quarterbacks, and that also leads him to break a little bit of tackles. So that leads into the second strength, which is his ability to evade pressure. Just the combination of size and mobility, and the fact that he's just a big dude. He's hard to bring down. He stays pretty poised in the pocket. He does actually like to keep passing plays alive in the pocket when he can, but he's also pretty good at throwing on the run, and that allows him the ability to roll out and get away from pressure that way too. It's just having a dual threat quarterback is just one more perspective of the game that you got to respect from him. So next one is above average arm strength. So I'd say between strength and accuracy, his bigger strength is strength. I guess his bigger plus is definitely strength. He can make a lot of throws. He can make really all the throws you want him to make. Like I said, the accuracy got better, and I'll get into how well he can throw deep balls on the next one, but fitting the balls into tight windows maybe not was his best one, but crispness on routes, it just seemed like his timing was very on point a lot of the time, and that's a pretty underrated quality to have in an NFL quarterback. So get into his next strength, which he's excellent on deep balls, which kind of plays off the last one. His arm strength, like I said, he uses to make really all the throws you want a quarterback to make, and he's able to really hit a lot of those deep throws that some quarterbacks might be a little bit inconsistent with, might not have the arm strength, might not have the accuracy. I'll get into accuracy with him a little bit later, but like I said, he can throw deep balls a lot better than you would expect a guy like him to make. Just some of his inconsistencies with throwing the ball would make you think that deep balls would be a struggle for him, but they're really not. So the last one is his toughness. So this is a guy that had to battle back from an injury his senior year in high school. I believe he had to miss his entire senior year. And not to mention he was playing, I believe he played through a hand injury for a little bit of this year. If you guys know exactly what injury he had to play through this year, let me know. I don't remember exactly what it was. Memphis did end up losing their bowl game to Auburn. I'm pretty sure they got absolutely railed in the Liberty Bowl, like 31-10, but nonetheless, it was still a solid season for Lynch at Memphis. So get to some of his weaknesses. So first one is accuracy. Now, before I say this, you can't really say accuracy is his biggest weakness, because this is a dude that completed 67% of his passes for 28 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. But then you kind of go off of 2014 and 22 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, and the year before that, 9 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Which brings up a very good point of his development. The fact that there's an improvement of that level is a good sign. Like, it got a little bit rough at the end of the year, I won't lie. Memphis got worse. But this is a team that beat Ole Miss, the eventual Sugar Bowl champions. Memphis was definitely no joke this past year. Just couldn't really hold their own against Auburn very well. The SEC as a whole were just monsters in bowl games, though. But back to his accuracy, it's just more of the inconsistencies as a passer for him, which is a weakness I'll actually get into later. But I think the accuracy just needs to be there more. I think it needs to be there more like 100% of the time than just there in certain games and not in others. It was hard to know what to expect of Paxton Lynch at certain times at certain times this year. I mean, it's the guy that one game against SMU threw for 7 touchdowns. Other games, I'm trying to find a few here. Navy struggled, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 305 yards passing. But anyway, to be honest, it was a pretty good year from Lynch. He's a guy that brought, I believe he had another 2 rushing touchdowns and then above 300 yards rushing on the year. So you do have to respect him as a dual-threat quarterback. But anyway, get into his next one, which is mechanics. And his mechanics just can be inconsistent at times. I kind of said this with Goff. When he gets pressured, his mechanics can be thrown off a little bit. Lynch was a guy that had to develop extremely quick in college on a team that's not known for developing quarterbacks. Now, that could have been chalked up to the coaching with Justin Fuente. He was an excellent coach, now at Virginia Tech. But I think that Lynch just needs a little bit of touching up. I don't think it's going to be a huge problem in the NFL. Like I said, when you see those that level of development in the numbers from his freshman to junior year in college, it's actually really impressive. So get into his third weakness, which is inconsistency, or just inconsistencies as a passer. Like I said, he did develop extremely well as a passer, but there were still times where he was very inconsistent. It seemed like the 10 to 20 yard throws down the middle were probably the hardest for him. I believe I saw something like where he only completed 48% of his passes in the middle of the field from the range of 15 to 20 yards. And I mean, it's not terrible, but compared that to, I believe he was 52% on deep balls beyond 20 yards. It's a weird pattern, and it's one that I don't know if it's extremely easy to develop and one that's easy to figure out, but it's also one that I think he can iron out. It's just the accuracy isn't there consistently for him yet. I think that's something that's going to have to be worked on for his transition to the NFL. So, fourth weakness is kind of what I mentioned with the transition. Transition to pro-style offense for him is probably going to be a little bit tough. Memphis ran kind of like a spread offense. I wouldn't say a spread offense, but he was working out of the shotgun a lot, and he did take a lot of snaps. I mean, most games he was taking between 30 and 45 attempts, passing the ball sometimes even as many as 50. So, I mean, I think it's gonna. I think it might be smooth, but it is kind of weird to see a passer that large having to take snaps under center. Sometimes it just doesn't work. All right, so that does it for the strengths and weaknesses. So get into his NFL projections, where I think he's going to go in the draft, best fits, that sort of thing. Now, the last mock draft, I actually had him at 15 to the Eagles. Not to the Eagles, I had him at 8 to the Eagles. Now, the Eagles have expressed some strong interest in Ezekiel Elliott, and I think Ezekiel Elliott will be taken there if he's still available at 8. And obviously, I believe the one before that, I had him going at 15 to the Rams, and obviously that's not going to happen now. The Rams trade kind of knocked everything out of whack for all mock drafts before that. But there's a few other fits that I think would be extremely good. One of which, like I said, I think the Eagles is a good fit. I think that if he does slide down the board to the later rounds, I think the Broncos trading up would be a very good fit as well. Kind of a Brock Osweiler style quarterback when you're talking about arm strength and size. Maybe not the most, or maybe not the best comparison there. I've heard some comparisons anywhere from Cam Newton to Marcus Mariota, just when you're talking about the ability to evade pressure and the ability to get outside the pocket and the overall arm strength. Now, obviously, the size isn't really there, but also the dual threat ability, the mobility, and the arm strength are. I'm trying to figure out where on here he was taken. So, yeah, okay. I'd say anywhere from the Broncos to the Eagles to the Jets would be a good fit for Paxton Lynch. But, again, I really don't know. This is a guy that is, I wouldn't say is the biggest mystery to me, but it is hard to figure out what would be a best fit for him. So, when you're talking about stat projections, I'd say probably 2,700 yards with like 18 touchdowns to 10 interceptions is realistic for him, maybe in a best case scenario. Like I said, it might be a tough transition to the NFL. This is probably a guy that's going to take a few years to get acclimated to whatever team he's on. So whatever team does get him, patience is probably going to be key. But also, this is a guy that has high upside. I mean, the dual threat ability, the development that he showed in college, and just the fact that just the size and athleticism, like I said, it's a hard combination to find. So that pretty much does it. If you have not seen my last two videos, which were Goff and Wentz, those will both be in the outro, and the link to the entire playlist for all my NFL draft scouting reports will be in the description below. So that does it for my NFL draft portion, or NFL draft scouting report version of the scouting report week, done with the 7 for this week, and I do still have 3 more to go that will be uploaded just anytime during next week, that are Miles Jack, Joey Bosa, and Laquan Treadwell. I've mentioned this before. If you do have any requests, any scouting reports that anyone wants me to do individually, I can probably get to those. I mentioned I might do Connor Cook and Christian Hackenberg maybe before the draft. Some of the more low-key quarterback prospects, and if there's any big risers in the draft or sleepers that you guys really want me to cover that would be a good scouting report to do, definitely let me know on that. But we'll be coming back later today with my next NBA draft scouting report. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, he is a 6'4", 215-pound senior quarterback. Actually, I believe junior quarterback. My bad. Out of California. He is from Novato, California. So some of his stats from last year, through 4,000